Ladies and gentlemen, there is a reason, woman of God, why some blessings don't show up when you are young, wild, and filled with ambition. There's a reason heaven holds certain gifts until time has seasoned you. God doesn't delay to deny you. He delays to develop you. You see, there are some blessings that would have crushed you if they came too early. There are some relationships you prayed for that would have ruined your purpose. There are doors you begged God to open that would have led to destruction. But because He is a good Father, He said, wait, you may have watched others walk into blessings early, marriage at 23, the perfect job at 25, picture perfect family on Instagram. But you wondered why your life looked more like wilderness than a promised land. You wondered if God forgot you. Let me tell you something, you are not forgotten. You are being formed. There's a wisdom that only age brings, a clarity that only pain can provide, peace that comes after the storm. Some blessings require the strength of a woman who's been through something, who's cried through the night and still got up the next morning to pray, who's battled rejection, disappointment, delay, and still said, God, I trust you. The blessing God is preparing for you is not cheap. It's not fast. It's not fragile. It's tailored to the woman you're becoming, not the girl you once were. The enemy wants you to think you've missed your moment, that it's too late, that you're too old. But the devil is a liar. Age is not a curse, it's a covering. Maturity is not a delay, it's a strategy. God saved the best wine for last, and you are just now stepping into your finest hour. You're not behind, you're being perfectly positioned. God delays a blessing. He's synchronizing it with your capacity, with your character, with your calling. The version of you that will receive it is stronger, wiser, and rooted in truth, not popularity. Some of you needed time to break generational cycles. Some of you needed time to heal from what broke you. Some of you needed to grow into the kind of woman who would not worship the blessing, but worship the giver. Don't resent the delay. Don't envy their timeline. Don't question her worth based on what hasn't happened yet. God is still working. He's refining. When the time is right, not your time, but His, He will make it beautiful. Your blessing has a due date, and your delay is not denial. God just wants to make sure that when it arrives, you don't lose it in immaturity. That when it shows up, you recognize it, not as a rescue, as a reward for your faith, your endurance, and your trust. There are moments in life when you feel like you're stuck between a promise and its fulfillment. You've prayed the prayers, sowed the seeds, cried the tears, and waited faithfully. But the breakthrough hasn't come. The doors haven't opened. The marriage hasn't happened. The healing hasn't arrived. And slowly, if you're not careful, the enemy starts whispering in your ear, maybe it's never going to happen. Maybe you've been forgotten. Maybe God changed His mind about you. God is not late. He is not slow. He is not passive. He is strategic. When you belong to God, every delay is deliberate. Every pause has a purpose. Every not yet is pregnant with meaning. But the problem is, we are often too focused on the clock, too fixated on what we don't have, too emotionally exhausted by comparison to see the beauty of divine delay. Sometimes we think silence means absence. God is often most active when He's most silent. He's working behind the scenes, moving people, shifting circumstances, aligning your next season. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean He's not doing it. Think of it like this. If a package hasn't arrived, you don't assume it was never sent. You know it's in transit. You know it's on its way. You know that just because it hasn't hit your doorstep yet doesn't mean the sender changed their mind. And God has already sent some things with your name on them. But it's in transit. He's preparing you to receive what's been shipped. A lot of people want the promise, but they don't want the process. But the process is what preserves the promise once it shows up. That's why God doesn't rush it. That's why He doesn't just hand you something prematurely. Because an early blessing can become a burden if you're not ready to carry it. God is more concerned with your foundation than your file aid. He's more concerned about your root system than your resume. He cares less about how fast you look like you're growing and more about how deep your faith is growing in the delay. Because what's the point of elevation if you can't sustain it? The delay is where character is forged. It's where trust is tested. It's where humility is born. You don't learn to praise in the palace. You learn to praise in the pit. You don't gain endurance in the victory. You gain endurance in the valley. You don't develop discernment on the mountaintop. You cultivate it in the shadows. When you have to lean in and hear God's whisper through your tears, you see, some blessings are dangerous without development. A relationship too early can damage your emotional health. A platform too soon can destroy your integrity. Financial increase without stewardship will leave you empty. So what looks like a no is often a not yet, spoken out of love, wisdom, and divine timing. Sarah was told she would bear a child. She laughed because the delay made it seem impossible. But God doesn't need youth to fulfill a promise. He needs your faith. And Isaac came when Sarah was past her prime, not because God was late, but because he was making a statement. I will do it in my time. And it will be undeniable that it was me. There's a reason God made you wait. There's a reason the door didn't open when you wanted it to. There's a reason the opportunity bypassed you. You weren't being overlooked. You were being overhauled. God was preparing a version of you that could walk in destiny and not sabotage it. He was building resilience, teaching surrender, stripping away pride. In the silence, he was making you strong. Don't curse the delay. Don't despise the quiet season. Don't resent the slower timeline, because one day you will look back and thank God that he didn't give it to you when you asked for it. You'll thank him that he didn't say yes to every door. You'll thank him that the blessing was delayed because it came at the right time, in the right way, when you were finally ready to carry it with maturity, humility, and joy. You are not in a dead place. You are in a divine pause. And when God hits play again, things will move faster than you imagine. Doors will open that no one can shut. What once delayed you will launch you, but you must endure the process, trusting that your waiting is not wasted. Keep praying. Keep sowing, keep believing, keep walking, because if he promised it, he will perform it. If he spoke it, it will not return void. If he said it's yours, then the delay is simply the space between his word and its manifestation. There's a truth we often overlook in our pursuit of answered prayers. Not every delay is about timing. Some are about capacity. Some blessings haven't arrived in your life not because God is withholding, but because he's building. He's stretching you, expanding you, strengthening your spiritual core, and making room in you for something greater than you can currently carry. Because blessings require capacity. Often want the blessing, but not the burden that comes with it. We want the platform, but not the preparation. We want the relationship, the business, the ministry, the influence, the impact, but we don't always consider the weight that comes with what we're asking for. God knows that if he hands you something too heavy for your current strength, what you call a blessing will become a breaking point. You may be praying for elevation, but God is preparing your foundation. You may be asking for increase, but he's dealing with your inner structure. Because the higher the blessing, the deeper the root needs to be. If you don't have capacity, you won't have longevity. You may rise quickly. You will fall just as fast. Think of a cup. It can only hold what it's built to carry. Pour too much into it and it will overflow and waste what was intended to be filled. God is not a God of waste. He will not pour destiny into someone not ready to sustain it. He will not give oil to a vessel too broken to contain it. So instead of filling you too soon, he chooses to form you. There's a weight to every answered prayer. A marriage isn't just about romance. It's about leadership, sacrifice, compromise, service, and vision. A promotion isn't just a title. It's about pressure, decision-making, responsibility, and accountability. A ministry isn't just a microphone. It's the daily commitment to live what you preach, serve what you believe, and withstand spiritual warfare at a higher level. You don't grow capacity through comfort. You grow it through challenge. You don't gain strength through applause. You gain it through stretching. You don't learn stewardship in abundance. You learn it in seasons of little. In those seasons, it can feel like God has forgotten you. It can feel like you're going unnoticed, unseen, unused. What's actually happening is deeper than visibility. It's transformation. He's training you behind the curtain for the stage. He's shaping your character before the crowd sees your calling. He's increasing your spiritual muscles in private before placing weight on you in public. Some of us want the victory without the fight, the harvest without the labor, the platform without the pressure. But God says, no, I love you too much to give you something prematurely. I want you to be able to carry it well. So if you're in a season where it feels like nothing is happening, like you're stuck in waiting, like your prayers are echoing off heaven's walls, know this: something is happening. God is enlarging your capacity. These are the muscles he's developing in you. Because when the blessing shows up, and it will, you'll need those muscles to hold on to it without compromising your peace or your purpose. God is building something deeper in you than a moment. He's building legacy, and legacy cannot be rushed. Destiny cannot be microwaved. Glory cannot be grabbed. It must be grown into. So do not resent the stretching. Don't despise the quiet season. Don't belittle the times of hiddenness. You are not being overlooked. You are being overbuilt. And when the blessing arrives, you'll be glad God waited until you had the capacity to carry it. There's something that time teaches you that talent never could. There's something that pain teaches you that privilege can't. And there's a kind of clarity that only comes when you've been through some things, when you've survived disappointment, healed from betrayal, stood firm in the storm. That clarity has a name. It's called discernment. And it only comes with maturity. Discernment is not just about knowing right from wrong. It's about knowing right from almost right. It's about seeing through the layers of charm and charisma and recognizing character. It's about identifying the difference between an opportunity and a distraction. And more often than not, this kind of wisdom doesn't come packaged in a quick prayer or instant revelation. It is born in the classroom of experience. It's forged in the fires of trials, setbacks, and surrender. You see, when you're young in your faith, or even just young in years, you often judge things by how they look. You chase what glitters. You believe that good intentions are the same as good direction. But as you grow, as life refines you, you begin to see deeper. You stop chasing what shines and start seeking what's solid. You no longer move just because something looks appealing. You wait to see if it aligns with your assignment. Maturity brings discernment because it teaches you to filter your decisions not through emotion, but through truth. It teaches you to stop reacting and start responding. It trains you to pause, to pray, and to perceive before you commit, before you speak, before you move. Here's the thing: discernment is not just about relationships or choices. It's also about you. It helps you discern your own thoughts, your own motives, your own patterns. It exposes the places where you've self-sabotaged. It reveals the trauma you were calling discernment when it was really just fear. Maturity brings you face to face with you, and it invites you to grow beyond your habits, your triggers, your excuses. You stop needing everything to be loud and emotional. You no longer rely on goosebumps to know it's God. You've been walking with him long enough to know that he doesn't always speak through thunder. Sometimes he speaks through silence, and you've matured enough to trust him in both. Some people walk away from your life and call it rejection. But discernment helps you see it was redirection. Some situations collapse and it feels like failure, but discernment shows you it was protection. You learn that sometimes God closes doors you begged him to open because he sees what's on the other side, and maturity lets you thank him for the no. There are people who have lived long but haven't grown deep, and there are those who only just started but are already anchored in wisdom because they chose to listen in their wilderness, not just survive it. They allowed the waiting room of life to become a classroom. They allowed pain to press them into prayer instead of bitterness. Posture gave birth to discernment. Maturity is not perfection. It's not knowing everything. It's not walking around with pride because you've been through things. No, true maturity walks with humility. It says, I don't have to respond to everything. I don't need to fight every battle. I don't need to attend every argument I'm invited to. It knows when to speak and when to stay silent, when to press forward and when to wait, when to stay and when to walk away, When you grow in maturity, your conversations change. Your desires shift. The things that once entertained you no longer feed you. You become more intentional, more watchful. You become a woman of depth, not just display. Some people will misunderstand you when you operate in discernment. They'll call it judgment. They'll call it overthinking. They'll say you're too cautious, too spiritual, too intense. But keep walking, keep obeying. Because discernment will protect what emotions would have destroyed. It will guard your peace. It will guide your purpose. It will preserve your destiny. Most of all, it will keep you close to God because discernment thrives in intimacy with Him. The more you grow, the more you realize you can't afford to make decisions without prayer. You can't afford to move without hearing. You can't afford to live on impulse when your calling demands intention. So, if you find yourself in a season where God is maturing you, don't rush through it. Don't fight the stillness. Don't try to go back to what felt easier. Let Him do the work. Let Him prune, refine, and shape your inner life. Because the discernment you gain in this season will save you in the next. Let your pain become your wisdom. Let your lessons become your lens. Let your walk with God deepen. Not because you're desperate, because you've learned that nothing else satisfies. And when it's all said and done, you'll look back and realize everything you went through wasn't wasted. It was training. The confusion, the delay, the heartbreak, the correction. It was all developing your discernment. And now you walk not just with knowledge, but with wisdom. Not just with sight, but with vision. Not just with hope, but with understanding. In a world that's always racing, always comparing, always chasing the next thing, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind. You scroll through social media and see people your age, younger than you, walking into rooms you've only dreamed of. You hear the wedding bells for others while you're still waiting on real love. You see the promotions, the baby announcements, the book deals, the business launches, and you silently wonder, God, when is it my turn? Your timeline is sacred. You are not falling behind. You are being divinely positioned. You are not overlooked. You are being intentionally prepared. The world may measure success by speed, but God measures it by surrender. He doesn't rush greatness. He forms it in layers. He allows delay to deepen your roots so that when the fruit comes, it lasts. You see, what God is doing in you is not ordinary. It's not quick. It's not cheap. And because of that, it won't arrive on the world's timeline. You cannot live a God-authored life and expect it to unfold according to man-made expectations. You weren't created to move at someone else's pace. You weren't created to live a carbon copy of someone else's calling. You weren't built to rush into what you're not ready for just because culture tells you it's time. That's not purpose, that's pressure. God did not call you to pressure. He called you to peace. God knows what you need before you ask. He sees what you cannot. He knows the future you are walking into, and He is aligning your path with perfect wisdom. If it hasn't happened, it's not because you're behind. It's because He is building something in you that cannot be microwaved. He is stretching your capacity to receive what He's preparing to give. And He's setting the stage so that when the blessing arrives, you'll recognize it not as a rescue, but as a reward for your endurance, obedience, and trust. Yes, it hurts sometimes. Yes, the waiting can feel like silence. But even in the silence, God is speaking. Even in the pause, He is positioning. Even when it feels like nothing is changing on the outside, something powerful is shifting on the inside. Your timeline is sacred because it is the process that produces your purpose. Let's be honest. If God gave you everything you asked for when you first asked for it, would you have been ready? Would you have stewarded it well? Would you have protected it, honored it, and grown with it? The delay is not punishment, it's protection. It's preservation. It's the love of a father who doesn't want to see you crushed under the weight of a premature blessing. And that's what makes your timeline sacred. It's not dictated by demand. It's governed by grace. You don't need to explain your process to people who don't understand it. You don't need to rush to prove your worth by milestones. You don't need to make announcements just to silence doubts. Let God write your story. Let Him take His time, because when He finishes, the beauty of what He builds will silence every lie that told you you were too late. Let the others go ahead. Let them have their moment. Cheer for them. Bless them. And then return to your lane with confidence. Because the timing of your life is in the hands of a faithful God who never fails. And when it's time, not even 100 closed doors can stop it. Not even the years you thought were wasted will go unused. God will redeem it all. He will restore what you thought you missed. He will bring it together in a way that makes sense only in hindsight. And you'll stand there in awe, not of how fast it came, but how perfectly it arrived. The sacredness of your timeline isn't about being first. It's about being faithful. It's about trusting God's process even when it contradicts culture. It's about surrendering your schedule to a sovereign Savior and saying, Lord, I don't want it fast. I want it right. The woman you're becoming needs time. The strength you're developing needs stretching. Clarity you're gaining needs quiet. The character you're being called to walk in needs refinement. None of that happens quickly. All of it happens beautifully. Stop watching the clock. Stop comparing your journey. Stop doubting your value. Every detour, every delay, every yes, every no, every door that opened and every door that slammed shut. It's all part of the holy choreography of a God who's not in a rush, but is always on time. So walk boldly. Walk slowly if you must. But walk knowing that your timeline doesn't need to match theirs to be powerful. Walk knowing that God is not just preparing blessings for you. He's preparing you for the blessing. There's something sacred about the moments in your life that feel still, quiet, hidden, overlooked. It's in those moments when no one is applauding, no one is watching, and nothing seems to be moving, that God is doing his deepest work. You may not realize it now. You are not being buried. You are being positioned perfectly, precisely, intentionally. Positioning is different from promotion. Promotion is public. It's the blessing that everyone sees. It's the answer to the prayer, the open door, the manifestation of the vision. Positioning happens behind the scenes. Positioning is private. It's the process of being aligned, not just elevated. It's God placing you exactly where you need to be, not where your ego wants to go, but where your purpose is required to grow. Sometimes God positions you in places that feel uncomfortable. He puts you in seasons that don't make sense. He surrounds you with challenges that stretch you, not because he's punishing you, but because he's preparing you. You asked for strength, so he gave you resistance. You asked for purpose, so he gave you pressure. You asked for clarity, so he gave you quietness. You asked to be used, so he hid you for a time. Because the woman you're becoming can't be formed in convenience. She must be shaped in fire. She must be humbled in the low place before she's trusted in the high one. God doesn't skip steps. And if it feels like you're in the wilderness, wandering, waiting, wondering, know this: even the wilderness has coordinates in the kingdom. You're still in his hands, still on his radar, still exactly where you need to be. Sometimes that positioning requires pruning. God will cut away relationships that can't go where he's taking you. He will remove access from people who no longer serve your calling. He'll shift your environment to protect your evolution. Don't fight the disconnection. It's divine. When you are in alignment with God, closed doors are not rejection. They are redirection. Delays are not denials. They are developments. Interruptions are not obstacles. They are instructions. Your steps are ordered. Even when the path feels crooked, heaven is still directing your feet. God is positioning you for a moment you haven't seen yet. You're rehearsing in private for a stage you didn't even know was built. You're growing in places no one claps for, so that when you are revealed, you are ready. Not just anointed, but appointed. Not just excited, but equipped. Not just visible, but rooted. Positioning is not always glamorous. Often comes with isolation. It requires obedience when there is no confirmation. It calls for faith when you don't feel favored. Make no mistake, this part of the journey matters. Think of Joseph. Before he ruled in the palace, he was thrown in a pit. Before he wore royal robes, he wore prison chains. Every moment that looked like a setback was actually a setup. The pit positioned him for Potiphar's house. Potiphar's house positioned him for the prison. And the prison positioned him for the palace. God didn't make a mistake with Joseph, and he's not making one with you. Don't rush the process. Don't resent the journey. God is placing you in rooms you haven't earned because of the obedience you've shown in places no one saw. That's what divine positioning is. It's not about popularity, it's about preparation. Some people won't understand why you're being moved the way you are. That's okay. They weren't given the map. The coordinates God gave you weren't sent to their inbox. You don't need validation when you've got vision. You don't need approval when you've got alignment. You've been crying over doors that God slammed shut, not realizing He shut them to save you from a counterfeit version of your calling. You've been questioning your worth because of delays, not realizing God was waiting until the weight of the blessing matched the strength of your character. When a builder constructs a house, the foundation always goes in first. It's not seen. It's not glamorous. It's not celebrated. But without it, the house would fall. God has been working on your foundation, your faith, your discipline, your integrity, your identity, so that when the structure rises, stand secure. The relationships He's prepared will show up. The opportunities will open. The clarity will come. The purpose will rise. But it won't be rushed, because when it happens, it will be right. It will fit. It will flow. It won't need to be forced because God placed you there. So stay faithful, stay obedient, stay anchored. Don't move just because others are moving. Don't shift just because they look ahead of you. Don't question your route when you've been given divine coordinates. Your time will come. Your door will open. Your moment will arrive. And when it does, you'll walk through it with a confidence born not out of arrogance, but out of assurance. Assurance that God didn't just bless you. He positioned you. He trusted you enough to prepare you. We live in an age that glorifies the fast lane, fast money, fast success, fast followers, fast fame. The world celebrates how quickly you can rise, how early you can accomplish, how fast you can produce. But heaven operates on a different rhythm. The kingdom is not impressed by how fast you go. It's concerned with how deeply you're rooted. The world may push you to chase speed. God is calling you to build a legacy. That's the message for your soul today. It's not about how fast you arrive. It's about what remains after you've been there. God is not preparing you for a moment that fades. He's preparing you for a life that speaks after you're gone. And that kind of life takes time to build. Speed can make you visible. Legacy makes you valuable. Speed may get you attention, but legacy gives you impact. And here's the hard truth. If you prioritize speed, you may miss the very foundation required to sustain the blessing you're racing toward. You don't need a fast breakthrough. You need a strong one. You don't need quick recognition. You need lasting purpose. You don't need viral success. You need eternal fruit. When God looks at your life, counting your pace, He's measuring your fruit. The kind of fruit that lasts through storms, speaks to generations, glorifies Him long after your name has faded from hashtags. Some of you